talking about something that some of you of a certain age, I would say, if you remember the heyday of Mike Tyson and boxing when it was really relevant, there was not a Mike Tyson fight that I would miss. The one in Japan, whenever he lost to like Buster Douglas, I've told the story a bunch of times on the air of finding out about it from Craig Sager because it was NBA All-Star Weekend, right? And then there was the flirtation a little while back where we had Mike Tyson in Roy Jones. And it was on the undercard of a Jake Paul fight, I do believe. And those guys went 8 rounds of, like, I forget how they dressed it up and called it. I think they tried to sell it as aggressive sparring, but not really getting into it and going at it. So they were there to kind of put on a show, and they did. Now, Mike Tyson was like pulling punches the whole time because you could see that the guy got into unbelievable shape. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, and the last time that I saw Mike Tyson, he was at the Bellator PFL pay-per-view that just went down about 2 weeks ago over in Saudi Arabia. And Mike Tyson was sitting there with Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, of course, jumped from UFC, went to PFL. He had a boxing match to where I think it was, and Billy, you might remember this, I think once Ngannou fought, what was it, Tyson Fury or whatever, yep, that they made him like a top 10 contender for the WBC heavyweight title.
Instantly.
Automatically.
Right. Just based on that performance alone, they thought he was worthy of a ranking.
So we find out today that Jake Paul is set to fight Mike Tyson in a boxing match that will be live streamed on Netflix. So this bout, that we will call it for right now, is scheduled to take place July 20th. That's a Saturday. AT&T Stadium down in Texas. Everybody who gets Netflix will be able to watch this fight. Now, additional info, co-main, undercards, all that kind of stuff will be announced at a later date. Now, this is being produced in partnership between Netflix and Jake Paul's and Nakisa Badarian's Most Valuable Promotions Company. So there's the mention in here of the whole Roy Jones pay-per-view and all that kind of stuff. So, Billy, I'm curious as to where you are on this, and Nick as well, because Nick represents the younger generation. And I would say this, Billy Lanny, very much old school boxing guy. Liked boxing, loved it, knew it, knows it, all that kind of stuff, right? I was old school boxing. I admit I've crossed over to UFC much more. And if you give me a big event when it comes to the pugilism, I'm in. I will watch a big one. So, Billy, do you think this is a real fight where Jake Paul is truly pushing all the chips to the center of the table for his boxing career?
I don't. I think it's just another. This will be something that ends in a draw or Jake Paul by points on the card.
Fan man comes in or something?
Something like that, because, again, if it's considered an exhibition, does this impact his record? You know what I mean? If it's just an exhibition, then it doesn't go against his record, then whatever happens, happens. But if they're trying to sell this as like a regular fight where it's going to impact his and Tyson's actual boxing record, then it's going to be some kind of fixes in. Because in all honesty, like 57, 58-year-old Mike Tyson, I feel like would run through Jake Paul.
Oh, in the shape that he's in?
Right. Like just watch him like practice. Watch him spar. Watch him like hit the mitts. He's still, you don't lose those things.
No.
You know what I mean? Especially
he's got big power.
Right, especially because he's got, he knocked off some of the hangover weight that he had. You know what I mean? He beefed up in that. He was a big boy in that movie. But like you said, he got himself in great shape for the Roy Jones fight. Like he was ready to slug it out, but they knew that was just kind of Roy Jones is going to move around and dance a little bit. Tyson's going to throw some haymakers. Nobody's getting hurt. We're just going to put on a good show. I hope this kind of reeks of that, but I really hope I would love to see just a slugfest, just a reckless slugfest.
I would
Throw your science out the window. Just let me see this young guy who thinks he can knock people out against a guy who made a life of knocking people out. Even if it is 30 years difference, I couldn't care less.
No, I'm with you.
The age difference plays no role in this. And the thing is, too, we all have Netflix, so we'll all watch it. You know what I mean? There's not many people that are going to run to subscribe to DAZN to watch a Jake Paul fight.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? I feel like there's a good amount of people that already have Netflix that are just going to be like, yeah, I'm Saturday night, why not watch it?
And listen to this quote from Jake Paul. It's crazy to think that in my second pro fight, I went viral for knocking out Nate Robinson on Mike Tyson's undercard. Now, less than 4 years later, I'm stepping up to face Tyson myself to see if I have what it takes to beat one of boxing's most notorious fighters and biggest icons. Within just 2.5 years of founding MVP, the production company, we're about to produce the biggest fight in history, a fight in the biggest NFL stadium in the U.S., broadcast live on the biggest streaming platform in the world. And then he goes on, my sights are set on becoming a world champion. And now I have a chance to prove myself against the greatest heavyweight champion ever, the baddest man on the planet, the most dangerous boxer of all time. Tyson has a quote in here, Billy, which is fantastic. Talking about Jake Paul, he's grown significantly as a boxer over the years. So it'd be a lot of fun to see the will and ambition of a kid, of a kid can do with the experience and aptitude of a GOAT. It's a full circle moment that will be beyond thrilling to watch. I started him off on his boxing journey on the undercard of my fight with Roy Jones, and now I plan to finish him.
I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody that's ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me.
Jake Paul's done an amazing job. Not a fan of the guy. Not really. It's tough for me to take him seriously as a boxer. That's fine and everything, but I respect the guy's hustle to make a name for the sport, bring the sport back into, the light. And boxing just isn't what it used to be. Before, being the heavyweight champion in boxing
meant something.
Not saying that if Jake Paul ever won a heavyweight title that it would, but he's doing good work and getting eyes onto the sport.
Off of that, would it be bad if this Tyson fight wasn't like a real fight, though?
Well, see, that's the thing too. It's like, who gains from this? You know what I mean? So if like Jake Paul knocks him out, which I don't think he will. Okay, so you knocked out a almost 60-year-old boxer.
Right.
And if Mike Tyson knocks him out, what does it do for him in the sense of building his boxing career?
Yeah, for Tyson, this is nothing more than a cash grab. Let's be real. He's not going to get into any truly competitive situations.
He's not going to knock out Paul and then get the Nagano treatment where he
Correct.
gets rankings.
Correct. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And I don't think Tyson is really looking at that. Now, I don't think Tyson's broke. But there's probably
compared to where he was, he's broke. But I don't.
You're right.
I don't think we're holding bake sales for Mike Tyson.
Agreed.
He's got the hangover money.
He does. There's a little bit of that, and I don't think he whizzed away everything. But
you have two guys.
Tried.
You have two guys here, just personalities alone. That's gonna the road to this fight is gonna be amazing.
Remember the McGregor Mayweather? That was really, the build was everything.
Right, because they had it was like 4 cities in 3 days, or they did like 3 cities in 4 days, something like that.
Yep.
And all those press conferences were like must-see TV.
Oh, they had
the
him
two
in,
guys went up there and just trashed each other.
And the one in Canada was in like a Hollywood Bowl-ish amphitheater or something like that. There were like 8,000 people there, something stupid.
Right, and the thing with that is people didn't. I mean, people always wanted to see it, but people really didn't get invested into it until they found out that no, this counts. This is going to be the 50th win for Mayweather or his first loss, and this is McGregor's first professional boxing match. So that gets people to see it. If you're going into this like Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson, that wasn't going to impact their boxing record.
Correct.
So if this is going to be the same way, then it's like, again, it'd be like, yeah, I'll watch it because it's on Netflix. I wouldn't go out of my way to order DAZN or pay pay-per-view prices for it if that wasn't the case.
And I think that might be the difference, is that if you bought the pay-per-view for what was kind of the Jake Paul fight, but it was really Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. is why you would have bought that pay-per-view, you're not buying it on pay-per-view. So that's why if there is, I know for the modern sports fan or most sports fans, it'll be like, come on, man, give me something on the up and up. Like, even if Tyson loses, let me know that this thing wasn't a work. But if it is a work, it's at least on Netflix, and it's not costing me any more money.
Right, like a pay-per-view match, and I don't even know how it works now because of, like, DAZN carries a lot of fights. Like Canelo Fights, who is probably one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in boxing, he's through DAZN, and that's a monthly $30 maybe, I think people pay or something like that.
I was going to say, I know with DAZN there is maybe some monthly fees, but they jack it up to like $69.99 for a Canelo fight.
Like Mayweather-McGregor was a $99 pay-per-view.
There you go.
Mayweather-Pacquiao was a $99 pay-per-view. So luckily we're not being asked to pay these prices for it, because even if you want to see a Jake Paul fight on DAZN, you pay the $25, $30 a month, and then you just cancel it.
Yep.
Because that investment's worth it, because you're not paying the $100 that boxing was once asking for their pay-per-views. And now Netflix, I know they have different levels of payment, but think you're paying $15 for Netflix just to watch that fight, well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also another signal of Netflix saying, hey, we want to be in the sports game. Like, again, I know it's WWE, sports-ish, but it's every week. It's destination programming for Monday Night Raw. And if you're Netflix, the only way you're going to, I don't watch series on Netflix, so I admit I'm sort of out of the loop or whatever, right?
But you have Netflix.
But I do.
Right.
Well, my wife
family
does.
has Netflix.
There you go. But if a series drops and you get season 2 of something, you get all 10 episodes and you can binge it and then you're done. What Netflix has had a problem creating is destination programming where, they'll go there once, but they'll watch the whole season, and then when they're done, it's on to something else.
Do you think UFC would swap to Netflix because of the partnership with the whole umbrella of the WWE?
Not a bad question, and I
get to get a ton of money from ESPN, but
yeah, I know they have that ESPN deal. If I were to guess, Nick, I think UFC might pull the pay-per-views back in for themselves, even though they would still need someone to distribute
Fight Nights
it.
would be on Netflix, but the big UFC 300 is not going to be $15 on Netflix.
Yeah, I would think that there's a way they could kind of split the baby there a little bit and maybe put the Fight Nights on something. But I know ESPN is paying them real big money, and if you look at the pay-per-view numbers, like, really, UFC is kind of the last bastion in a lot of ways of consistent pay-per-view buys. I mean, they're over 500,000 every time, if not pushing 1 million or maybe more. And even at 500,000 at $75, do the math. It almost doesn't make sense for them to get out of the pay-per-view game, but it does make sense for them to get with a streamer outside of ESPN and see if you can put some content on there.
Like, where can you watch Fight Nights?
ESPN Plus.
Okay, so it's already on a service anyway.
It's all on. Right now, the UFC deal is with ESPN Plus. They were with Fox. They went to ESPN. It was also the pay-per-view piece of it as well. So they technically are on a streamer, but you can also watch all the fights before the pay-per-view in some instances on ESPN2 or ESPN. So they do have some linear coverage as well.